Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Holy shit. Excuse my French. You guys, we are sitting here on a Sunday, an NFL Sunday. I'm wearing Broncos stuff, and we won a football game. Is the flipping world ending? It might be. First half, 20 points on the board. Is the world ending? It might be. Bo Nix, first touchdown of the game, runs it in the end zone himself. I did take that as a bet at plus 320, so you know I was excited. What the hell is going on? This is a full rebrand. We talked a lot last week about the struggles we watched with this Broncos team in both week 1 and week 2. And honestly, despite getting a win today, this team still has things to work on, which again should make Broncos fans feel pretty optimistic at this point in time that, hey, we were able to beat a team like the Bucs. Yes, riddled with injuries on that roster. We can't neglect that fact of the matter. However, Baker Mayfield looked like a very different quarterback this week against this Broncos defense. And Bo Nix had a little bit more swag to him, had a little bit more confidence this week. I'm really liking what we saw. Now, still, despite the win, despite beating a team that they were 6.5-point underdogs against, I'm not going to let myself go. Listen, we get a win. What does Liv Mods do? Liv Mods goes straight to the sports book and puts more money on Bo Nix, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Settle down, Olivia. Settle down now. So I've got to just take a second, take a deep breath, and understand it is still very early. We are obviously watching this Broncos team get a little bit better each week. Despite week 2 being as bad as it felt and looked, we did see a little bit of improvement with Bo Nix. It was hard to acknowledge that. It was hard to give credit to him because it still was just such a brutal game. But we have watched him get a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident, kind of find his rhythm, find his groove in this Sean Payton offense. Play calling to me looked 10 times better today. And that was a massive, massive concern in the first 2 weeks of play was the play calling. We were waiting for Sean Payton to take some accountability. He did that. And so it was exciting to see in this game. It felt like we were kind of settling in a little bit. Now, again, this Bucs team and Baker Mayfield have looked really solid this season. I have been talking about Baker Mayfield like he was an MVP, potentially going to have an MVP level season. In the first few weeks of play, we can always expect the teams that you don't expect to lose, losing. The teams that you expect to win, winning. It's all over the place, and it's going to continue to be all over the place. But if we're going to start to see this Broncos team settle in, one of my biggest concerns that I talked about on off-field just a few days ago was that other teams making mistakes in the first few weeks of play, it's like, okay, we can work with this. We can handle this. This will be fine. With the Broncos, it was simply just the system is not working offensively. This is just not working. Whatever Sean Payton is doing, whatever plan he had preseason, it is not working. It's not translating in the regular season against starting NFL defenses. Now, we saw some improvements today, some big time improvements. Nate Jackson on our show, Off Field, has talked about the importance of how this game is evolving, the run game. You can't win games without the run game. Well, I'm still not overly impressed by the Broncos' run game. Is it better? Absolutely. You had Tyler Beatty, 9 rushes for 70 yards. Bo Nix was our second best rusher in this game, 9 rushes for 47 yards. Javonte Williams, who I think most of us expected to be our guy in terms of the ground game, 5 rushes, 12 yards. We've got to see more from Javonte Williams. McLaughlin, 5 rushes for only 7 yards. We've got to see more from our 2 arguably most important running backs. Again, Nate Jackson has spent a lot of time on this very show talking about the importance of the run game. We're watching quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes throwing for under 200 yards and still winning games because the run game matters, and we're seeing the game evolve that way. I liked what we saw, obviously, from Beatty. He looked great. And Bo Nix using his legs a lot. You don't want to rely on your rookie quarterback, though, to be getting you rushing yards. It's not, to me, there's not longevity in that process and in that plan. We're seeing improvements, though. We are seeing improvements. Our defense, a great game. Got to give a shout out to my friend, Bree, her husband, Brandon Jones, with an interception. So cool to see that. Obviously, hearing his name on TV, I immediately texted her. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I love it. If you guys don't know, he was traded to the Broncos in the offseason from Miami. So love to see him already. And he was actually dealing with some hamstring injuries in the preseason and in practices. So glad to see him out there making an impact. Our defense looks solid, you guys. And that's something that for so many years we've been able to proudly say, hey, despite our hot mess express of an offense, we still have defense and defense matters. So defense looked great. How many sacks did we have in this one? Quite a few. 1, 2, 3. Let me make sure I'm on the right. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sacks in this game. Is that correct? 7 sacks in this game. We love to see it. And then we had 1 interception by Jones, 1 fumble recovery by Jones. I mean, we're doing some things defensively. Shout out to Vance Joseph. Last season, first few weeks of play, first half of the season last year was rough defensively. Throwback Miami game. It was a hot damn mess. Our defense is solid. Our defense is reliable, more importantly, and that is massive, obviously, in the game of football, and more importantly, on the NFL level. Defense matters. Defense wins championships. We've been saying it for years. Defense to me, it's a non-issue. I'm not concerned about it. I love our defense. They play hard, they play tough, and they're looking great. What we saw this time that we didn't see in the first 2 weeks is our defense cutting our offense a break, giving them more opportunities, and this time we actually were able to do something with those opportunities. We had our defense playing great in the first 2 weeks. We would give our offense an opportunity to do something, get on the board, make some moves, and they couldn't. Third and out, third and out, third and out. It felt like it was just their brand, like falling short, not able to do anything. It was very frustrating. Our defense continued to be great. Like I said, they're consistent, they're reliable. That's what we've seen in the first 3 weeks. And now we're seeing our offense capitalize on the defense making moves, getting interceptions, recovering fumbles. We're seeing Bo Nix look a lot more confident and settled in, and I love it. Really quick here, you guys, I'm going to just toss another retweet on this live show so that we can get some more people in here. Make sure you guys are in the comment section, in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling. Holy shit, we got a W. I still can't believe it. If you guys don't know, the Broncos not only came out on top, but pretty convincingly when you're looking at this Broncos team, 26-7. Our defense held this Bucs team to only 1 touchdown. Incredible. They looked really good. Like I said, our defense is a non-issue to me. And our offense, you've got Bo Nix running it in himself. Very first touchdown was Bo Nix using his legs a little bit. Love to see it. We did have Jaleel end up in the end zone as well, despite only having 5 rushes for 7 yards. He did end up in the end zone. So our run game actually became arguably the most important in terms of getting on the board, something Nate Jackson has been saying for weeks now. The run game matters. We are watching the game of football evolve in such a way that you really can't win without the run game. And we're seeing that. Both of our touchdowns in this game, we did also have obviously quite a few field goals to have 26 points on the board, but both of our touchdowns came off of rushes, which is really, really incredible. So super exciting there, obviously, to see our run game starting to maybe settle in. I still think we could do better. The fact that Bo Nix was our second best rusher with 47 yards, not great. Like I said, Beatty with a massive improvement here, 9 rushes for 70 yards. That's obviously very optimistic, makes me feel very good. But we've got to have more from Jaleel. We've got to have more from Javonte. We just have to. Those are our leading rushers. That was the expectation as we entered the season. We heard Sean Payton talk about how excited he was. Javonte losing weight back to his college weight, getting into better shape, which in turn helped with his speed. And Jaleel was someone that we actually saw Sean Payton in the first week of play use a whole lot more than Javonte. Sean Payton seemed to favor Jaleel over Javonte, but you're not going to have that, and you're not going to see that as the weeks progress if we've only got 5 rushes for 7 yards. It's just not going to work in the NFL. We've got to, again, rely on our run game more like we did today, but it still has to be better. There still is room for improvement here. But Bo Nix settling in a little bit more, feeling himself, getting a little bit more confident, things we love to see. The Bucs. Honestly, I'm a little surprised at what we saw Baker Mayfield has been a very impressive quarterback in the first 2 weeks, and I think he will continue to be impressive. I don't think that this is anything more than our defense was phenomenal. One passing touchdown for Baker, one interception, 7 sacks. 7 sacks by this Denver defense. Again, the defense is a non-issue to me. I don't stress about it. I don't worry about it. I'm feeling very, very good. Their leading receiver was Godwin because Evans, surprisingly, only had 2 receptions for 17 yards, not his best performance. And he's arguably one of Baker's go-tos, most reliable veterans in this league. Pretty reliable guy. Our defense looked great. They made it really hard for this Bucs team to score, end up in the end zone. They made it really hard. And that's exactly what we've talked about with this Broncos team. If your defense is going to cut you a break, if your defense is going to get stops, if your defense is going to stop the other team from scoring, our offense has to score in order to win. Even if our defense typically in the first 2 weeks of play, it didn't matter how well our defense played. 2 safeties in week 1 against the Seahawks, it didn't matter. It did not matter. We did not take advantage offensively of the opportunities that our defense gave us. Now, in week 3, we're seeing a little bit more collaboration from our offense and our defense. I got to tell you, it was going to be a long-ass season for our defense if we kept seeing what we saw in week 1 and week 2 for the rest of the season. I'm sure the defense was going to start to get frustrated. Like, hello, we're cutting you breaks. We're making big plays. We're getting big stops to give you an opportunity to then do your job, offense, and get on the board so that we can win football games, and they weren't doing that. I think it's very important that we saw Sean Payton taking some accountability post-game in week 2. Now, honestly, I can give him credit and say, go Sean, glad you took some accountability. In my opinion, that's his job. In my opinion, it's very clear that Sean Payton is the common denominator from last season to this season. So I don't know how he could ever not take accountability for some of this. I'm sure he could find a way, but he didn't. He took accountability. And for that, I am very, very thankful because I do think Sean Payton had to do some reflecting. You know, when these guys sit down and they watch film, it's very easy to look at people and say, hey, Sutton, you didn't run the right route. Hey, you put Bo in a really bad position here because he was looking for you there. You were over here. It's easy to point fingers at the offensive players because the offense is what looks the most damaged. But at the end of the day, play calling was also a massive issue. I found myself in this game, as most Broncos fans probably felt, feeling very excited about what I was seeing, feeling very hopeful about what I was seeing, but also not wanting to let my hopes get up. Truly, I don't think I felt comfortable with the score until the fourth quarter when I was like, okay, the defense is still getting big stops. We're finding ways to put points on the board, even if it's just field goals, fine by me. We're at least putting points on the board. So it wasn't until the fourth quarter that I truly felt like, okay, we're going to get a win here. And let me tuck my tail and say, I said on our Friday show that I felt like 6.5 points for the Bucs was not enough. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I was going based off of what I saw in the first 2 weeks of play, which was the Bucs looked great and the Broncos did not. Pretty simple. Baker Mayfield to me was playing like he had the potential to have an MVP level season. Truly, I felt that way. I still feel like he is capable of that. Obviously, this kind of put a damper on the momentum that he had, but that's what happens when you face a really tough and competitive defense, and the Broncos are just that right now. We have a tough, competitive defense that is also reliable. Also very reliable. And that is a huge relief, a huge, huge, huge relief. Here in just a little bit, I will be joined both by Nate Jackson and BK. You guys know those are my people. Love them with my whole heart. They are phenomenal. They are actually both out in Tampa Bay getting us footage. We're going to have some great conversations because they were there. They were able to see things that I was not able to see. I had the same view as most of the fans out there where you know, it was just football on the TV screen. I was watching Bo Nix look a little more swaggy. I was watching our defense make big stops. So all good things, but they were able to be there. Hopefully they're able to get some good conversations out of maybe Sean Payton, maybe some of the offensive players. Bo Nix would be a great one. Sutton. I felt like Sutton and Bo Nix had a little bit more chemistry in this game, which was very, very optimistic. Sutton to me was definitely a concern in the first few weeks of play. Again, this is our veteran receiver. This is the guy if you guys remember in the offseason, Sean Payton kind of clean slated a little bit. He didn't want that losing stench lingering around. He wanted to rebrand this Broncos team. He had a plan and he had things he wanted to do. He had a vision that most of us didn't know about. So when you see him get rid of veterans like Tim Patrick, who's a pretty reliable guy despite the injuries, it was kind of like, hello, Sean, I'm not sure what your game plan is, but I guess we'll trust the process here. So Sutton was kind of one of the few starters, veterans that we had returning to this team from the losing era. And I was not at all impressed by what we saw from him in week 1 and week 2. To be honest, I was disappointed. He's supposed to be our reliable receiver, and it felt like there was a very large lack of chemistry and communication between him and Bo, therefore making Bo look like he was not doing his job. And in so many ways, he wasn't. But he's also a rookie. And Sean Payton is a very particular head coach with a very particular system that's probably hard for Bo Nix to follow. If you guys remember on the Friday show, Nate Jackson talked about the lengthiness of these play calls. We've got to shorten it up. We've got to make it easier for Bo Nix to understand, follow, and then put into motion. I think that in this game, in week 3, we saw that in the play calling. The play calling to me looked better because it was simpler. Keep it short, keep it simple, easy to read, easy to follow, easy to do. Not that football on this level is ever easy, especially as a rookie when you're new to this league and you're trying to establish chemistry with your team. All of that matters, of course. There's a lot of X factors that can make a quarterback's job in the NFL extremely difficult, but they typically are the ones to blame when things don't work. That's just the nature of this sport, which I think is a fine situation to put them in considering how much money they make. Give them a little criticism, give them a little flack. They're the heroes when the offense works, and they're the villains when it doesn't. That's the nature of the job of being an NFL quarterback. So that is not surprising to me. However, I think in the first 2 weeks of play, it was very easy to say, hey, Bo Nix, there's a lot of concern here. People were a little too, maybe hyping you up a little too much, a little too high on the Bo Nix train. And maybe still that is the case. Maybe there still is a world where we've got to take this win with a grain of salt, a massive one. It is still very early. And like I said on Friday, there is a pretty hefty schedule waiting for this Broncos team, which is why my concern was whatever system that's not working that needs to be figured out, it needs to be figured out quickly with swiftness because our schedule doesn't get any easier. And the teams that we have to face coming up here, we get a breather with the Panthers. Hopefully that's an easy dub because my God, poor Panthers. But for the most part, our schedule is not getting any easier. So trying to develop a working system while you're playing really tough opponents like the Chiefs and the Chargers is not ideal. It's not practical. We know the Raiders for years have dominated this Broncos team. That's another opponent we have to face. We've got to go in there with a system that we know works. And if we make little mistakes, that's fine. In the middle of the game, at halftime, you can fix those things. But when it's a whole system that needs to be adjusted, chemistry that needs to be established, that's kind of hard to do while you're in season and facing tough opponents. So that was my concern. The fact that, though, we have now a system that we can see works. We just saw it work. Was it perfect? No. Can it be improved upon? Yes, but that is a much more comfortable position for me to be in is, hey, we've seen a system work. Now we just need to tweak it and improve it, but we know that it works and we know we can win. That makes me feel a whole lot comfortable as we enter this tougher schedule and face some of our division opponents, as opposed to what we saw in week 1 and week 2, which was scratch whatever's happening right now and start the F over. That's how it felt. Start over from scratch, ground zero. We cannot do any of what we're doing right now unless you're the defense. Defense, stay as you are. You are great. We love you. So to see a system that we now know can work and will work, can be approved upon, hopefully will be approved upon, yes. But we see it work. We know they can win a game off of the system that we saw today. That is very optimistic. That is very exciting. But as a Broncos fan, as a longtime Broncos fan, I know better. Well, I should have known better because honestly, I entered this season thinking, woo, all of our problems are going to be solved. We're feeling good. Everything's great. Yeah, not so much, Liv. Not so much. There's a lot that needs to be fixed. And in the first few weeks, it is so easy to overreact. It is so easy to overreact. I find myself doing it every single week. In the first few weeks of play, I change my mind about teams every single week. The Saints are a great example of a team that dominated in week 1 and week 2 and then kind of slowed down a little, lost a little bit of their momentum in this one. The Steelers looking really solid. Again, will that last? We don't know. There's a lot more weeks of football left. We do have a comment here. Joe DeMac says, same here. Yeah, longtime Broncos fans, we all share the same sentiment that it is so easy to get ahead of ourselves. It's so easy to get carried away. It's so easy to get overly excited. And let's also not just turn into that fan base that's just a bunch of negative Nancy's, because those fans are obnoxious. The ones that are like sulking in the decades of misery and losses that are just like, oh, it's the worst to be this fan. It's like, all right, come on. We don't need to sulk, okay? There's no mourning that needs to happen here. But there is a level of realism that we need to maintain throughout this season, because there will be ebbs and flows. There will be ups and downs. Bo Nix just showed us some light at the end of the tunnel, but he is still a rookie and he is going to face much tougher defensive opponents than the Buccaneers. We may see a game where he's the Baker Mayfield getting sacked 7+ times. You never know. So it's going to be an ever-flowing system of mistakes and tweaking and making sure that things can work. But we saw something that is giving us some optimism, that's giving us some hope. What we saw from Bo Nix in preseason was some swagger, some confidence, some coolness, some relaxation in his play, where he just looked like he had it figured out and he knew exactly what Sean Payton needed from him and he was doing it. There was also chemistry between him and his receivers. I want to talk a little bit about the Broncos receivers before we have Nate and BK on, and obviously I will get their thoughts on this. We also, by the way, will have full interview clips from whoever takes the podium. We've got Jason out there getting us our sound bites and our interview clips, and he will be sending those over to us ASAP. So as soon as they're available to me, we will be playing them here live on this show, so you can get a first look at what whoever's taking the podium has to say about this game. That is the beauty of Guerilla Sports. We are quick. We've got the quality for you. We've got all the things you need. So make sure that you're sticking around for that, because you will be able to hear from the players and the coaches about what we just saw. Let's talk about the receivers, though, because we obviously, few players, there were some injuries that we know about. We talked about that on the Friday show. Sutton with the most receptions at 7, but Lil Jordan Humphrey with 6 receptions for 37 yards. We're seeing him be utilized a little bit more, which I love and appreciate. Williams also had some receptions. So he's making an impact both in the ground game and in, obviously through the air with Bo Nix. However, we don't want to have Javonte Williams remove himself too much from the run game, because again, the value of the run game continues to increase every single week as we watch this game evolve. Franklin, only 1 reception for 9 yards. Reynolds, 2 receptions for 36 yards. So we had some pretty impressive moments. I think, again, more than the receivers, because of course they are important. They did their job today, which helped Bo Nix do his job today. But Bo Nix, to me, looked just way more cool, calm, collected. The same version we saw in preseason, we saw a little bit of that in week 3 today against the Buccaneers, which is very great. One thing you don't ever want to happen is especially your young rookie quarterback, losing confidence. And it would have been very easy for Bo Nix to come off of week 2 and lose his confidence. He didn't look good. He had turnovers in the end zone. It was not a good game for Bo Nix. Was it all entirely his fault? No, but he is leading our offense. You never, ever, ever want your young rookie quarterback to lose confidence. And today, it proved he has not lost his confidence. Right here, right now, live on this show, you are going to get a first look at what Sean Payton has to say about the win 26-7 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out in Tampa Bay. We're going to run that for you now. Stick around. You'll get the whole clip, all of the different questions he's asked. So let's check out what Sean Payton had to say about the big win in week 3 for the Denver Broncos.
You can come out. We have this saying, if you're playing the game on their end of the field, the mistakes can be magnified. So here you are playing it on your end of the field, and you got to be mindful of that. So coming out, we're going to be smart about where we're throwing it relative to tip balls and ball security. And 2 first downs, you've neutralized the field position at that moment. You know, it's if you punted there, it's kind of like, 30, call it. So 2 first downs backed up is a neutral field. And then obviously when you can, possess the ball like that, that's a big deal. And then, when the 3rd downs come, then the rushing numbers come, the attempt, all those other things kind of come as a result of it. So I thought that was significant in the second half. The time it took, and then it flipped the field.
How do you feel you guys getting 7 sacks and then on the other side protecting Bo Nix well?
Yeah, well, better than the other way around.
Well, what was the key to kind of getting?
Well, I
sacks?
think we made them hold it. Like, in other words, I think we made them hold it some, and that's a credit to coverage. I haven't seen the tape, but I think we made them hold it, and then we weren't going to against. We had protection. We had a real good plan relative to getting in and out of some audibles. Bo handled it really well. We just we were going to have answers if it came, and then you got to be careful that you don't just get caught into that. And so we got into some of the right looks, and again, I feel like there's so many different times having been here, and Todd's someone I've worked with. It's almost like the kind of game it has to be. And they're counting on takeaways, they're counting on sacks, they're counting on disruption, and we just had to do everything to prevent that.
Did you see a different confidence level in Bo?
No, stop. It's fitting your narrative. It's not. The kid's been confident. This kid's been through Auburn, he's transferred, he's won, and honestly, I haven't seen him flinch. We all get a little bit more confident with a win, but I say that respectfully. He hadn't flinched, and I think that we had a good plan. The players did a good job, and then certainly he had more fun than he did in prior weeks. Yeah, look, I'm used to right, wrong, or indifferent. It's easy to work 2 backs into a rotation. It's hard with 3. It's hard to feed 3. And he'd been practicing well, and there were a handful of bad 21. We just abbreviate his tags, BAD, bad 12. There were a handful of plays designed with his name on it, and then he's running well, and so he got some other plays. But we'll keep working that combination, and I was pleased that we were able to run the ball.
You mentioned the leadership coach of the players. Is there a point where you see him take it personally and take ownership when you get to this?
No, I think that, look, we practiced 2 days ago, yesterday, South Florida. And this league, one of the reasons why it's so important you bring in or procure the right people is because you're going to get, you're going to go through stretches. And it's tougher if you don't have that makeup. And so you're always hopeful they're built for whatever, because any season or any game is going to swing. So look, they fought back, and as a result, we got to win.
Sean, I was in the elevator in the 3rd quarter by the big run, and I hear cheers, and I'm like, oh, the Bucs must have done something, and then see the replay, and Bo has that big game. How much did the Broncos?
Good following, great following. It's good to have. And this is kind of a unique stadium. Historically, there are a lot of, there have been a lot of great events here. I'm talking about postseason, what have you. But it's always nice. Look, we travel well. And so towards the end of games, when you travel well, then you become the majority, not the minority, and you feel that.
I know, obviously, you said you obviously felt with Pat playing, following Evans most of the early.
It's a good stretch of receivers. We were talking about it the start of the week, and I asked him, I said, hey, if Dennis Allen wants to do a quick trade for 1 week, I'll take Lattimore and you go there, and then we'll bring you back, giving him a hard time. Lattimore has always defended Evans well. So we went and got 35 snaps of bump and run, Lattimore and Evans, I put it in his hot folder, talked about it on the plane. He responded, so it was good. No trade.
The momentum swings in a game for the team to follow up a touchdown with coming right back down again.
The interception.
Yeah. In the
Yeah.
goal right after that. How pleased were you to see them respond that way and kind of take that momentum right?
Yeah, look, yeah, it was good. Our 2-minute drive, to come away with 3 points, how many punts? Anyone paying attention? 2 punts. All right. That's good.
Obviously, Bo looked good today for some of the finish compared to his first 2 games. What was the key to getting him today?
I say this, and I mean this. It's so important, and I include myself and the offensive coaching staff. It's our job to paint the perfect picture for this player. And if we do that, and we used to say that about whoever's under it, our job as coaches, as receivers, we have to paint the picture. And when we do that, this guy's going to be something.
On the Greenbrier, let's talk about the week coming up then.
It will be a normal week, obviously on the road, but yeah, we're here tonight because of the scheduling, and we'll be getting there tomorrow. Then we're kind of into our Monday schedule. Then Tuesday they're off. We're game planning. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, that's where we head next. All right, thank you guys.
Love, love, love seeing a smile on Sean Payton's face. Gotta tell you, I am still of the thought process that I don't know how these reporters ask these questions. I mean, he just cuts people off. He already knows how they're going to finish their question. He doesn't even want to hear the rest of it. He's like, here's your answer, moving on. Here's what I took away from what head coach Sean Payton had to say. Number one, the whole fitting the narrative thing. Sean Payton, whether you agree or disagree with his coaching, I have taken to my social media many times to disagree with Sean Payton at times. And I stand by those things. He's not a perfect coach, just like I'm not a perfect sports reporter, okay? I have my opinions, I have my feelings, I have my thoughts. You have to remember, not only am I working in sports media, I'm also a fan. I've also been a fan of this team since I was born, okay? Born and raised in Denver. I have been a fan of the Broncos since I was born. I was born in 98 when we won a Super Bowl. So I, like many Broncos fans, have seen it through its highs and its lows. Now, one thing Sean Payton said that I really want to talk about, whether you agree or disagree with Sean Payton, he has been a winning coach in the NFL, hence being the second highest paid coach in the NFL. And he mentioned fitting the narrative for Bo Nix when asked about his confidence. Sean Payton did not let that reporter even finish his question, and he said, no, stop. Respectfully, we are not going to talk about his confidence in such a way that fits your narrative. He said Bo Nix hasn't flinched. Bo Nix has been through many things in his college career that he had to work through, bounce back from, push through, to then still be a successful relative to, as you know, Nate likes to make fun of Sean Payton for that, relative to other quarterbacks in college football, Bo Nix was a successful one. So I think it is something that we have to remember. There is so much of Bo Nix that we don't get to see. Yes, we see him on Sundays playing against whoever is next. In the first 3 weeks, we saw him in the preseason, but we don't see what this man is doing 24/7 behind closed doors when he's practicing. We don't get to see that. So to hear Sean Payton so confidently defending Bo Nix and his confidence, I think is massive. Could you argue that Bo Nix is in the best position to be one of the best rookie quarterbacks in the NFL right now? There's a lot of things that have to go right. Health. Jaden Daniels, to me, is a phenomenal and very exciting to watch quarterback in the NFL. As a rookie, I love watching him. However, he reminds me a lot of Anthony Richardson in the sense that I think his play style could get him into trouble. I think he could run into some injury problems. I think his health and his longevity in this league is where I worry. Caleb Williams, as we know, was thrown into a franchise, into a system that's not necessarily built to have a successful quarterback. We've seen that with Justin Fields. Justin Fields, you picked him up, you put him somewhere else, and we're arguably watching him play his best football right now. under Mike Tomlin, a very well-respected coach in the NFL. So, is Bo Nix in the position where he could be the best rookie quarterback in this league? Yes. Now, is it still early and we're just watching one solid performance by Bo Nix and we don't want to let ourselves get carried away? Of course. But I think to hear Sean Payton say that he has not flinched on his confidence one time. And Bo Nix even said that. He even said that last week when asked about his confidence. No, we just got to watch film. There's things I need to do better. There's things my teammates can do better to help me out. But ultimately, like, I know what I need to fix and I'm going to. His confidence really hasn't wavered. Now, I think his aura, maybe, to me, looked a little bit better in week 3, emulated a little bit more of what we saw in preseason, which was a very cool, calm, collected guy. A lot of that, though, has to do with what his receivers are doing. Sean Payton talked about the run game and how important that was. Now, here's my question for you, chat, and please feel free to get in the comment section. Should Williams be the number 1 running back? I haven't been overly impressed by what I saw in the first 3 weeks. Now, week 1, I think that was more by design, that we didn't see Williams utilized as much as we wanted to. But then we saw him used a little bit more in week 2, and I wasn't all that impressed. We saw him today. I wasn't all that impressed. Is a Beatty a better option at number 1 for our running back position? Sean Payton, I think, knows as best as anybody else that the run game matters, and it's very important. Hence why he put a smile on his face when we talked about the fact that they ran the ball better. They did. That looked much improved in comparison to last week. The first 2 weeks, actually. You can't have your rookie quarterback being the second best rusher on any given Sunday. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to last. So that is not a practical option. Now, Beatty, to me, showed a lot of optimism today. I was very excited by what I saw with him. Is Javonte Williams the answer? Yes, he lost weight. He's back to his college weight. Yes, he looks faster. But is he our number 1 running back? I think that our run game looked significantly better today against the Bucs than it did in the first 2 weeks of play, but it's still not perfect. We still have our rookie quarterback being our second best rusher in this game. It's not going to work. Jaleel, who Sean Payton seemed to be very fond of in week 1, very unimpressive today. Yes, he got in the end zone, but outside of that, he wasn't making many moves. Javonte Williams, who I think many people expected to come back this year after losing weight, looking a little faster in practice and in the preseason, to be our number 1 guy. I'm not sure he is. I'm not sure he's the answer to our run game. Our run game is much improved in week 3, which is obviously a really great thing, but I'm not sure that Javonte Williams is going to be the answer for this Broncos team in their run game. I'm really not sure. A couple other things that Sean Payton talked about, the Broncos fans traveling well. I love hearing that. I think that is absolutely awesome, to not know what happened in a game because the Broncos fans were cheering just as loud as the Bucs fans. Really great. We'll have BK kind of touch a little bit on the environment of the stadium. What was it like? What was the energy like? Obviously, these are things that we can't really tell from watching at home. So I'm very excited to hear his thoughts and opinions on that. But Sean Payton saying, yeah, they travel really well, and that could bode very well for a rookie quarterback who's got quite a few difficult road games ahead of him. So that was obviously a very optimistic thing. Again, Sean Payton just looked like he was in much better spirits. I don't think he needed to take as much accountability today because we saw improvements. We saw some changes in this Broncos team, offensively especially. Anytime I talk about what needs to change right now, just know I'm talking about offense, because our defense to me is solid. It looks good. It's reliable. It's consistent. And until further notice, I'm not worried about our defense. Now, our offense, very different story. But again, Sean Payton taking accountability in week 2 was mandatory because our play calling did look better. It looked like we were setting Bo Nix up for success a lot more. We were putting Bo Nix in a better position to be successful. He was able to do his job a whole lot better because the play calling made improvements, and also his playmaking receivers became more reliable. There seemed to be a little bit more chemistry there. Sean Payton seemed very happy with what was done today. Obviously, I think he knows, like I know, like you all know, this is only the beginning for this Broncos team. We have a long season ahead with some tough opponents on the road and at home, especially in our own division. Those are some of the games that we've got to really, focus on. The Raiders have been dominating the Broncos for seasons now. The Chiefs have been at the top of the NFL for the last 2 years and may be at the top of the NFL this season as well. And the Chargers looking surprisingly better than I anticipated that they would. Former Horned Frog, Quentin Johnston, looking exceptionally better than he did last season. A lot of people talking about Quentin Johnston last year, stating that he was overhyped. It was a bad move for the Chargers. He was unreliable. He wasn't going to be anything in the NFL. And we're seeing him kind of be Justin Herbert's go-to guy. I think that we're seeing Harbaugh really – I think we're seeing with the Chargers that coaching was a massive, massive reason for their lack of success. Having a new coach, having a coach that knows how to coach, knows what to do, matters a lot, which is why, again, so much heat has been placed on Sean Payton, because now for back-to-back seasons, we started this season in the first 2 weeks feeling eerily similar to last year, and last year was brutal. Probably more brutal than it's been for a decade, and that's saying something because it's been brutal for a decade. So coaching matters in this league, and I would argue that Andy Reid, Harbaugh obviously being new to this league, but just being a successful coach in his, years of coaching, and Sean Payton, there's a very high expectation that these teams are competitive. Coaching matters. Mike Tomlin is one of my favorite coaches in the NFL, and he's showing that you put Justin Fields in the right environment, he can really thrive. He can really be a great quarterback. So Sean Payton, it's always great to hear from him. I think we're going to have some more clips as we progress in this show. Hopefully soon, my co-hosts, Nate and BK, will be joining us. I know sometimes when they travel on the road, it gets really tough to set things up, find a place, find Wi-Fi, all the things. So we will be patient with them, and we will go ahead and kill time until they get here. We will have a clip here in about 1 minute. 1 minute from our very own PS2, the highest paid DB in history, okay? We love it. Our defense, like I said, has been absolutely reliable, consistent, competitive, phenomenal. So here in just probably 30 seconds now, we will have a clip from PS2, his full interview. I would imagine it's his full interview. I'm sure we've asked him many questions and he'll have a lot to say. So we'll have that clip for you in just a minute. And I do think it's important that we also hear from our defense, because our defense, again, has been great, been reliable, and we don't always want to be harping on the offense. Our defense has been making big plays, cutting our offense a lot of breaks. So we will have the full interview from PS2. I'm not sure how long that will run, but if you want to hear what PS2 has to say, stick around for a few minutes, because we'll have that in just a moment. Hopefully soon we'll also have Nate Jackson and BK hopping on with me to give their opinions. But for now, our defense, the Broncos defense that has absolutely turned things around for this Broncos team in comparison to how we started last season, ran by Vance Joseph, highest paid DB in history. PS2 live now. Let's hear what he's got to say after that big win on the road against the Bucs.
Just the matchup with Mike Evans. Sean was talking about giving you a bunch of clips of Lattimore playing against him too.
Mm-hmm.
How much fun is it to be able to follow a guy like that, and obviously the great job taking him out of it?
Yeah, it's something that I look forward to throughout the week. Obviously, Mike, he's a great player. Just him and his body of work is pretty incredible. So matching up with a guy like that is, pretty awesome. I just had to lock in on the details and make sure, I limited him, not allowing him to get explosives down the field. So, I did my part there. And, I just feel like as a team, as a whole, defensively, we did what we did. And we played how we prepped during the week. So, very excited for us.
What's it like as a DB when you got a defense getting 7 sacks?
Oh, man. I ain't going to lie. It's like it's a great feeling knowing they're getting back there, knowing there's a short amount of time for the QB to get a read off, and it just makes your job much easier, and it makes us more aggressive on the back end. So, when the pass rush is there, it sort of correlates towards the secondary. So it's a good thing that they got pressure and was getting sacked. So
You guys played well in the first 2 games, but even after those games, you said we can be better. I guess a couple turnovers today, 7 sacks. You showed us that. What happened that you were able to take it to the next level?
Yeah, we knew we just want to create turnovers, generate turnovers. That's a big thing in this league for sure. Creating chances for your offense, and offense did their thing, and when we was out on the field, we did our thing. So collectively as a team, we was in unison, and I think we really collectively was really making plays on both sides of the ball, and that's the result of the game. Once we on sync and everybody's on cue, and we do our thing like how we was prepping during the week, everything seems to come to fruition for us.
Can you talk about your mindset on defense after you see your coach take the ball first, and then they go down and score, you're up 7-0 before you get on the field? What was your mindset going back out there?
Give the ball back to them and let them do their thing. That was our goal. Every time we go out there as a defense, our standard is to uphold our standard and make sure we dominate each and every snap. And I feel like we did a pretty good job of doing that. So, like I said, we just keep building the building and looking for more games like this down the road.
What does this do for your season, just in terms of falling over before you get that first win and chance to get back?
Yeah, it's good getting that winning feeling because now we know what success looks like, and now we know what it takes to win NFL games. And I feel like getting this win on the road is very crucial and very pivotal for our season down the road. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. We got another opponent, a good opponent in just next week, and we just got to keep on building on it.
Coming out of that kind of tough touchdown over Riley.
Mm-hmm.
He's been targeted a tough 2-3 weeks. What have you just made of the way he sort of bounced back and played overall?
Roddy's been doing great, man. He generated that forced fumble, and the touchdown. It's a great catch by him, but it's a league. Sometimes stuff like that's gonna happen. But what he's done these past couple of weeks is tremendous. He stepped in a key role. Being targeted and still holding his own is something to say about him. And how he works throughout the week. And I got the utmost confidence in him, and he's just gonna keep making plays each and every week. So I'm looking forward to his success.
Last one. I think.
All right.
Yep.
Round of a freaking applause. I love this defense. He talked a lot about turnovers. Listen, if our defense is going to get turnovers and get the ball back to our offense, the offense has to do something with it. And we finally saw that in week 3. We finally saw our offense taking advantage of the defense making big plays. It's going to become very frustrating very quickly for our defense if they keep creating turnovers and then nothing is done with them. So shout out to our defense for pushing through the first 2 weeks of play that were rough, to say the least, still making big plays, still showing up and being competitive and consistent, creating opportunities for our offense, and then our offense finally taking some accountability and going, hey, we gotta do something with these turnovers that our defense is creating, because it does matter in this league. It absolutely matters. So shout out to the defense. PS2 looking swaggy. He is, again, there's a reason that he's the highest paid DB in history. He's phenomenal at what he does, and he's massively important to the success of this Broncos team. Okay, I've got an update for you. We have some connection issues, some Wi-Fi issues in the Tampa Bay Stadium. They do not want us talking about their L, so they're making it tough on my co-hosts, Nate Jackson and BK, but just in a moment's notice. Oh, don't go anywhere, because we do have Bonix coming soon with an interview. This is why, if you are not tapped into Guerilla Sports, listen, am I a little biased because I work with Guerilla Sports? Of course I am. What kind of a show do we have here where you've got Liv Mods, who is sure to put a smile on your face, hopefully, either because you're laughing at me because I have a stupid take, a bad bet, or because you just enjoy hanging out with me. I don't care what it is, as long as you're smiling. That's all I care about. You've got me. You've got Nate Jackson, former Broncos player who is a absolute wizard when it comes to his intelligence with the game of football. Then you've got BK, who is just, in the most respectful way possible, stat nerd who can give you all the ins and outs of the Denver Broncos and most teams in the NFL. But even better than that, you also get full interview clips as quickly as they happen. Once they happen, we are sending them over. We've got them here. We're running them live on the show. I mean, what more could you ask for? You're getting my opinion and feedback. You're getting to drop comments, and we put them up on the screen so we can say what's up to you guys and hang out with you. We do have a comment from Willie. First, we'll go to, Willie here says, I'm starting to get a boner. That might need to be a t-shirt. Just saying. I like that, Willie. I like that a lot. And then we've got Superfly reaction saying, I saw you on TV last night at the CU game, Liv. Yes, if you don't know, Blake and I went up to Boulder and covered the CU game. I did get absolutely wrecked by a Baylor player. This is not a drill. This is not a joke. I was absolutely on the ground. I always knew I hated the Baylor Bears. Listen, go Frogs, first of all. Screw Baylor. I've always hated them. And then I got wrecked on the sideline by one. By the way, he was a super cool guy. He was very nice. He made sure I was okay, and then he ran back on the field. All good. No harm, no foul. But yes, I was up at the CU game. So, gosh, 2 back-to-back days of Colorado. Is football back in Colorado? I beg my pardon. Is football back in Colorado? I think it might be. The Buffs with an overtime win, a Hail Mary by Shadur to tie it up in the final seconds of the game. Insanity. And then Bo Nix. Come on. I mean, football is back in Colorado. Shout out to Shadur Sanders and shout out to Bo Nix. And speaking of Bo Nix, we now have his full interview clip from postgame. Like I said, we are quick around here. Quality, quickness, and a good time, okay? Bo Nix, interview clip, ready now. Let's run it. Here's what Bo Nix had to say about his bounce-back performance in Week 3 to take down the Buccaneers in Tampa, 26-7. Let's check it out.
Well, did you know Coach was going to take the ball if you guys won the toss? Kind of what message did that send to the offense?
Yeah, well, he wanted to be aggressive. I think he made that decision just off of, making a fast start. And, whatever, I wasn't necessarily shocked by it, but whatever he wanted to do, that's what we were doing, and we came out and did exactly what we wanted. We went down and got a touchdown, and I think that set the tempo, set the tone for the game.
How much does a drive like the one you had in the third quarter, 16 plays, I know you want to finish it with 7, but how much can that help you take control of the game?
Well, it's huge. You got to have those drives in games, and I think we started about the 5 and went for a long time. Chew some clock, and we were efficient, and we were probably, a tipped pass or an explosive play again down there from scoring a touchdown. But that was a big drive for us. It was good to see, and next time I think we just want to get 7 points there.
I think the conversion to start that drive to LJ on third down, how much is that sort of jump start?
That was huge. Third and long, backed up. It's not where you want to be, but we ran a good call, and LJ, got choices on that route, and he ran out, made a catch, and then, got some yak. So I thought he played really well when the ball was in his hands today, and that jump-started the drive. Oh, it was great. Before the game, we wanted to, hear the music and have a party. So, we played motivated today. We went out there and executed at a high level, and then, I think that's what it's supposed to feel like. You get back in the locker room, and everybody's really excited. You put so much into the week. You put so much effort, time, energy, and, those are what those moments are about. It's just kind of, that's what you want to get to. You want to get to those post-game, celebrations.
You talked about wanting to kind of get back in the heat and the humidity. So how was that?
It was hot. It was an intense environment. The weather was, we didn't let it play a factor, but it was hot. And I thought our guys did a good job of not letting it, they didn't wear it on their body. They didn't act tired. We did a great job of changing in and out, personnels. And we just came out with a great mindset, and we went down and I'll get to you in just a second. And we came out with a great mindset, and we just played very eager, very excited to get out there, and we played with that all game.
You said you were aggressive early. How much did those intermediate and deep throws even look like the second play you were looking for Troy on the post? Is that just how that kind of helped you and opened up the whole offense?
Well, when you start the game with an explosive pass play, get Court involved early, you win a one-on-one, you flip the field in one play, it opens it up for a coordinator, and Coach Payton did a good job of, going right back to it. We hit Josh on the other side, and then we get points, and we get a touchdown on that first drive. That's really important to start explosive, but, you can't just hit one. You got to come back and continue to finish out drives, and it was good to see that, on the first one.
It looked like you were in complete control of this game. What was was the difference for you were feeling compared to the first 2 games?
Well, I thought, everything was having success, and we were moving the ball and, keeping the chains moving, and we had some third downs, and we were efficient with them, and we got first downs. And, that's the difference in these games is if you can convert on third down, you stay on the field for longer, and you eventually score some points.
Sean said all week, have to look closely if you're throwing too much, and then you came right out and you were winging it early. You feel like that shows confidence?
Well, we put together a great game plan this week. We were very balanced, and we came out early and threw the ball, and then later in the game we have to run the ball, and everybody in the stadium knows we're running the ball, and we were able to go and get first downs that way. So it was a complete, offensive game. I thought, we ran the ball well and got us in manageable third downs, and we were efficient when we threw the ball. And our guys made plays. They did a great job with yards after catch, and I think moving forward, that's what we want to do. We want to stay balanced and, be a good attack.
Do you allow yourself personally to enjoy your first NFL win?
Well, I got to. You only get this moment one time, and it's not easy winning games in this league. But, our guys deserve this. Our guys have earned this. We have a great team that really battle in there. We were one possession away in both the first 2 games. And so just to do what we were able to do today against a really good football team, it gives us a little bit of confidence moving forward. It's still a long season. But you got to enjoy these wins when they're here, and it's a great first win.
All right, Bo, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Claps all around town. Let's go, Bo Nix. Listen, my switch up is crazy, but you know what's even crazier? His switch up. I think at this point in time, we're able to bring in my bestie, Nathan Jackson, live from Tampa Bay, baby. Woohoo! Nate, how are we feeling? How are we feeling? That was great. That was great.
Pretty good. Can you hear me, by the way?
You sound great.
You got me?
Yeah.
You got me?
I got you.
Cool. So there's a wall next to me. We're in the bowels of the
great.
stadium. They're loading up the trucks over here. The players' bags are full. Their pads behind me. It was the only place we could get Wi-Fi, Liv. So here we are.
How are you? How are you feeling? Give us a little bit about obviously, Broncos fans showed up. I was seeing stories that people were posting. Broncos fans traveled very well. What was the energy like? And what did you think was the biggest difference maker in week 3 for us to get this win?
Yeah, Raymond James Stadium, it was kind of quiet. It was not full at all. So it was a little bit of an interesting atmosphere for a team that's 2-0. And, it was like, hey, this team could be Baker Mayfield MVP candidate, right? Like Baker Mayfield came out there like Baker Mayfield. And there was one guy, he's like, yeah, woohoo. Nobody really cared, right? So there were a lot of Broncos fans. And as the game wore on, it was obvious the Broncos were going to win this game. Yeah. The Bucs fans started to leave, and the Broncos fans stayed and got a little drunker, a little louder. So that was pretty cool to hear the Broncos fans, here in the second half. The Broncos had a lead for the first time in a long time, a 2-touchdown lead for the first time since last season, right? And I think it was just a complete football game by this team in all phases, which is what we haven't seen. We've seen the defense play really good in the first half. Broncos can't score points, and so the defense starts to fold in the second half, and then they end up losing. Well, the defense played really, really well, and the Broncos offense held up their end of the bargain by playing really well as well. So these guys are going to, as a team, get in on that bus, go back, and they're staying here in Tampa tonight, and then they're going to the Greenbrier for the next week, and they're going to feel good about themselves and getting this victory. Nobody believed this was going to happen. It was a resounding victory. 7 sacks, 1 interception. Wow. Bo Nix looked good, and the receivers were making plays. The offense seemed to be more manageable. They were getting in and out of the huddle, like we talked about. Plenty of time on the clock, so the offensive linemen could see things and talk to each other about what they were seeing. Bo Nix could as well. You talk about the pace of play. It's not just affecting Bo. It's affecting those offensive linemen. When they got to run right up to this and snap it, they can't see the stunts. They can't see what guys are doing. It's really important that the O-line communicates with one another. They have some complex line calls that are just would blow your mind, and they don't have time to do that when they're running up and just snapping. McGlinchey was out. Alex Palczewski stepped in and did a really good job. So this team got the monkey off their back, and I was sitting here when Cortland Sutton and Bo Nix came running in afterwards, and Cortland's like, Bo Nix, win number 1 of your career, woohoo! And they hugged each other. So
I love that.
It was a pretty cool moment.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a cool moment for these guys, and great to see them get a victory on the road.
Yeah, it was huge. And honestly, you made a great point about it just feeling complete. It felt like everyone showed up and did their job. And it really is that simple in the game of football. Now, it's not simple to do your job because it's such a tough sport. But when you do your job, this team really can win football games. I want to ask you about the run game because we have spent a lot of time right here on the show talking about how the game has evolved and the importance of the run game, especially when you have a rookie quarterback. Bo still, though, was our second best rusher in this game. Talk to me about Tyler a little bit and the performance you saw from him. And should Javonte Williams be our number one running back, or is that kind of an interchangeable job at this point?
I'm sure it's a conversation they are going to have upstairs about, should we try to get Tyler Beatty more involved in some of the base packages? Sean Payton, I don't know if you heard his press conference, but he's talking about the bad packages where it's just the BAD for Tyler Beatty, but he has certain packages just for him. Well, what they need to do is just get the guys who are playing best and put them in the base packages where you don't have a special package for them, but it's just they're playing best, so they're on the field, right? And I think they have to have that conversation because Javonte's still averaging 2.6 yards per carry. He just doesn't seem to get to that second level the same way that Tyler Beatty does. By the way, they were calling him Tyler Bidet here, which was kind of a weird pronunciation.
They absolutely were because I watched.
Were they doing that on TV as well?
Yeah, I was making sure that I was pronouncing. Then it had me questioning. I'm like, well, do I need to call him Tyler Bidet on the show today? I'm pretty sure that's not how it's pronounced.
No, I don't think
They did make
so.
it a little French out there.
No.
Yeah, what was that?
Well, a bidet is something you clean your ass with, and that's clearly not cool because he's
Oh, I would be mad.
Yeah.
He needs to find out who was commentating this game and give them an earful for sure.
Yeah. Well, they did it on the PA guy here as well at the stadium. So it wasn't just maybe they both, got the wrong phonetic guide for that.
How
but
disrespectful
anyway,
can you be? Bidet is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess there is going to be some conversations about that running back.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was going to say, he led the team in carries and yards. He ended up having 9 carries for 73 yards, and like 45 of them were on that one carry. But that's important to be able to have that ability to get to the second level and turn, something into a 30 or 40-yard game. We haven't seen that for a while. We also saw Jaleel McLaughlin, break a tackle and juke a guy for the touchdown when it looked like he was stopped in his tracks. So these are plays being made by running backs. And I think that conversation is going to be had about how to get Tyler Beatty more involved in the base stuff and then how to get Javonte going and how long you want to be patient with Javonte, in the first half, because he only ended up getting 5 carries and it just wasn't productive. But Bo Nix was productive with his legs, making some big plays, and these receivers made plays, and the offensive line kept him real clean all day. And that was pretty awesome.
Well, just in a minute, I'm going to let you go in 2 seconds, but just in a minute, we're going to get a clip from Sutton and what he has to say following this game. Do you feel better about what you saw from Sutton in week 3 as opposed to the first 2 weeks of play that we saw from him?
Yeah, I do. And, a lot of times it's about the tone you set right out of the gate. And they threw it to him on the first play of the game, a back shoulder throw, complete for like 16 or 20 yards or whatever it was. That's like those moments are really important for a team when you're trying to gain momentum, especially on the road. Imagine he drops that pass and then it brings up 2nd and 10, maybe, and then they got to punt it to start the game. Like it starts a chain of events that really affects the outcome, right? And so Portland came ready to play. He made the first play of the game. A lot of time those are scripted. Most of the times they are. So Cortland Sutton goes to sleep last night knowing that the first play of the game is coming to him on a back shoulder throw. So it's like, that's a lot of pressure, right? And so he's ready for that moment and he makes the play. And then boom, 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 guys follow along. We talked about this. Playmaking is contagious. One guy does it, the other guy wants to do it, right? And so he had 11 targets, led the team in targets. I think he had 6 catches. So, not a huge one, but it was consistent. And I felt like he was here for his team, and he was obviously excited for Bo Nix. They had that embrace. And so I think I was happy with what I saw. Yeah, from Cortland. I was pretty happy with it.
Yay. Well, Nate, I'll let you get out of here. I think you're flying back to Denver tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Tonight.
So we'll have you back in the studio tomorrow. Make sure you bring us your game-changing play from this one. Hopefully it's a little,
will.
obviously this one might be more positive than negative. We've had two negative ones.
It will.
This one actually might be a good one. So we'll have you
yeah.
with me in the Guerilla Sports studio tomorrow in the morning, talking about this game on a little bit of a deeper level, maybe talking some Monday Night Football as well, but definitely bring us that game-changing play so we can look at that, have you give us the X's and O's, and make sure you have a safe trip back home because I need my co-host tomorrow. So make sure you fly safe.
Thank you. I will, and I look. Yep, I look forward to being there. How'd you do on your bets today, Liv? Did you win any money?
Well, I did take Bo Nix anytime touchdown scorer, so that one was a big hit.
Wow.
However,
Okay.
you heard me say on Friday that I felt like 6.5 was not enough points for the Bucks. So I think you know how that bet went.
Yeah.
Super wrong there. Just got to tuck
Yeah.
my tail and keep moving
Yeah.
forward. But so far we're doing
That's
pretty
right.
good. Still more games to watch and bet on, but
Still early.
so far we're good. Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck to you, and go
Thank you,
Broncos.
Nate.
That was fun.
Yeah, that's right. We'll
All
see
right.
you tomorrow. Thank you, Nate, for joining us. Okay, you guys, just to wrap things up here, Nate just talked about how he felt a lot better about Courtland Sutton, his impact in this game, the connection between him and Bo. Obviously, even post-game, we got to hear a little bit about their tender embrace, Sutton hyping up his rookie quarterback. I love hearing stuff like that. But we do have Courtland Sutton talking about this big win on the road right now. So we're going to play his full interview clip, and then we'll get out of here and keep watching football. But here is Courtland Sutton and what he thinks about this big win on the road for the Broncos in week 3. Let's check it out.
When Coach decides you win the toss and then puts the offense on the field,
Yeah.
what kind of confidence does that give the group when you're coming off a tough week, obviously against Pittsburgh? What was the reaction out of offensively? Did you know it was coming?
Yeah, usually we defer. And I guess he had whispered to Alex and Will that he wanted to receive the ball. So it kind of caught me off. I'm out there, but it still kind of caught me off guard. But I was excited because I knew what the first play was. We go over the openers the night before the game, and so I knew what the first play was going to be. And when he decided to take the ball, I was like, oh yeah, he's trying to set the tempo. So, it was very encouraging. As soon as I saw we won the toss and I saw that we wanted to receive the ball, my mindset clicked, and I was just like, yeah, man, it's our turn to go put something together. And we told the offense that it was on us. It's on us to change the dynamic of what we've been doing. It's on us to go out here and change the tempo, and that's what we did. We went out there and put points up on the board, and with our first drive, and that's something that we want to continue to do. That's something that we talked about this week when I did podium, finding a way to be consistent, and we have to find a way to grow on this, build on this, I should say. And I think that today was the step in the right direction.
When you talk about building on this, Pat was just saying that now we know what success looks like. How much can that matter, not just for you, but maybe some of the younger guys who haven't experienced success?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really young team, and it's I think that until they had the experience of what they had today, they didn't understand how hard it is to really win in this league. And I mean, I guess with the past 2 weeks it's whatever, but to be able to feel the excitement, to feel the momentum, actually stand on our side on the sidelines. I think we grabbed momentum and we kept it on our side, the entire game. And to feel that energy of watching the clock go down in the fourth quarter, knowing that we had the game in the bag, to feel that energy, to hear Broncos country in a away stadium, getting a full-on "Go Broncos" chant. And I saw one of the rookies turn around and they had like a shocked look on their face, and I was like, yeah, bro, like this is how we do it, and this is how it should be. We show up and we go to places and we execute, we win, and when we do that, Broncos country shows up in a way that's hard to explain. And so I think it was huge for them to experience that. And I talked to the guys after the game and told them, lock this memory in, know how this feeling feels and replicate it. We have to find a way to replicate this and continue to have this feeling, because this feeling's 1,000 times better than what it feels like to come up short.
Before you, middle of the third quarter, you get the ball, you're on 6. You go 15 plays.
Yeah.
And really kind of take almost 8 minutes off the clock. How big did that feel? Because you talk about we just need to create this momentum to actually stay on the field and see what we're doing. So to have a drive like that, how big was that?
Man, that was huge. I talked to the offense a lot about what it takes to become a championship caliber team, and those are the drives that championship teams are able to do. Finding ways to convert on third down, making sure that we don't have negative plays, eliminating penalties. Being able to do that consistently is what you see these teams that make it to the playoffs consistently, teams that are going to the Super Bowl and fighting for conference championships. Those teams are able to stay on the field and put these long drives together. And, we got to feel that. And, we might not have scored, but we got 3 points and we took 8 minutes off the clock. And, to be able to do that, to be able to control control the possession of the game and still be able to get points and it not end in a turnover or end in no points is huge. And I think that ultimately we continue to grow from that and learn from what we're able to do. I think that it's ultimately going to take us to where we want to get to in the long run. So, like I said, it's building on this, finding ways to stay consistent with this, and I think that we'll like where we are week in and week out.
You talked a lot about Bo and his development. Just, I guess, what sort of pride do you feel when you watch him go out there and kind of take that next step, get his first win, and make some plays with the flag?
Man, it was huge, to watch him go out there and find the dynamic and find his groove, and to see him, looking at the sideline being like, hey, call this play, like him seeing, like being able to see the defense and understanding the game plan and knowing what plays will work for us, it's encouraging to see that, because it's only his third week, and I think I've spoke at lengths about it's still being early for him, the strides that he's made so far are very encouraging, but he's only going to continue to get better. The more he sees defense, the more he gets reps, the more he gets to be able to go out there and see the full speed game reps. He's only going to continue to get better, and I think we got to see a really good glimpse of the potential of where he can take this offense and where we can go as an offense, and with him at the helm, and just watching him create plays, keep plays alive, taking care of the ball, the man in the huddle, controlling our offense to be able to, like we had like you said, the 15-play drive, like those things are things that we can only go as far as he takes us, and to watch him do that and do it over the course of the game was very encouraging, and he's only going to continue to get better, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Obviously, great game for you today. What was the key to getting that connection going with Bo from the beginning until the very end?
Kind of what I was saying before. He's only going to continue to get better each week, and I think that the biggest thing is just week in and week out, continuing to hit the ground hard at practice, continuing to get reps after practice, continuing to build that trust of I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here, and as long as he has faith in me of being in the spot that I'm supposed to be in, then he's going to have the confidence to be able to throw the ball into that space. So it's just continuing to get reps, and I know it's something that we've talked about since training camp, but just those few weeks of training camp isn't enough. There has to be full speed game reps, and I think that today was a step in the right direction. He was able to, trust that I was going to be in a space, and we always say time in the ball placement and beat any defense, and I think that that's something that we were able to execute on today, and I think that we go and watch the film, and we'll be able to build on this, and I think that it's something that will be dynamic here in the future, and we just have to continue to keep growing from this and learning from this, and building on it. And I think that we'll be in a really good spot here, week in and week out. Appreciate y'all.
Things we love to see, the optimism. Did you see Courtland Sutton smile when asked about Bo Nix and the improvements we've seen in just 3 weeks of play? I think when you have a veteran receiver that is so supportive for his rookie quarterback, that is going to matter so much in the long run. And I think what we're seeing, based on what Courtland Sutton is saying, is they are trying to build on something that is not just this season, but it is beyond that. And so what we're seeing a little bit of right now is growing pains with this Broncos team. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be ups and downs. But every week we're watching this Broncos team build off of something from the week prior. Even if it's this big, and even if they still lose, we're still seeing things move in the right direction slowly but surely. It feels like we're moving at the pace of a snail, but I really loved hearing Sutton's optimism, seeing him smile. It does feel like there is just a much better energy. Despite starting the season 0-2, there is still a much better energy this season than there was last season. More optimism, more excitement. We've got a couple comments here. If we lost, what would happen to Broncos fans? Nothing. Nothing would happen. We're used to losing. I don't think anything would happen. I think that if anything, the conversation would go beyond Broncos fans and it would become Sean Payton. It would be, hey, what is your game plan and how are we fixing this? If not, maybe your job is at risk. But nothing would happen to Broncos fans. We are used to this life. One more question. Can Broncos keep up this pace? What do I think? Absolutely. Even just listening to Sutton, who is essentially our veteran on the offense, which is the one group that is struggling the most, it seems, in these first 3 weeks. Not today. They definitely turn things around. But I do think they can keep moving. Now, you have to approach each game differently because each opponent is different. So as long as they can do that, this is a smart football team. This is a smart head coach. And I think as long as they can keep that optimism, keep that confidence, they will be just fine. So thank you guys for joining me today. We had a full interview clip from Sean Payton, head coach Sean Payton. We had PS2, we had Bo Nix, and we had Cortland Sutton. I also was joined by Nate Jackson, who was live from Tampa Bay. He's going to get on a flight here shortly and join me tomorrow in studio for another episode of Off Field. You're welcome, Cedric. Thank you for being here. Off Field is going live tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Moving forward, Monday, Friday, expect us at 11 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow. Nate Jackson will be bringing his game-changing play. He will deep dive into the X's and O's of the game-changing play that he decides on. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about the Broncos and kind of let our emotions simmer down, and then we'll get re-excited and talk about them all over again. We'll maybe preview a little bit of Monday Night Football, and then, of course, you can expect us live again on Friday for another episode of Off Field. Thank you for being here. This has been a post-game live reaction to the Denver Broncos getting their first win of the season on the road in Tampa Bay against the 2-0, now 2-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thanks for joining me. I'm Liv Mods. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain Time for another episode of Off Field. Much love and go Broncos. Bye.